Yeah, we'll have him on third. Okay, hello everyone. Bill Apter with my able-bodied yes man here, right? Yes. Andre the Giant. Surprise, you didn't know he was going to be here with me to approve everything. Also, the reason for the sweatshirt tonight rather than the usual shirt and tie is because I live up in the northeast area. That's where Apter's Alley is located, in a suburb of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it's cold. This is not the weather that we are accustomed to have in May of any year. So I suggest that all of you start calling the weather forecasters, the people responsible for telling us what is going on with the weather, and tell them this is unacceptable and they've got to change it. Write letters, sign petitions, whatever you have to do. Let's get the weather better. Okay, let's all chant. Let's get the weather better. Let's get the weather better. Oh my goodness, it feels a little warmer in here. But this is one of my favorite sweatshirts in one of my favorite towns in Pennsylvania, Jim Thorpe. And it's a great little town. It's got great restaurants, great gift shops. It's just nice. So if you're looking for a vacation spot for a nice long weekend, check out JT, Jim Thorpe. We have a loaded show today. Dr. D, David Schultz, who wrote his book, Don't Call Me Fake, will be back for part 2. If you listened to and watched our interview last week with him, he's controversial, but what a great character he is. Absolutely great character. And of course, as I mentioned, a very rare interview with one of the 3 sons of the great living legend, Bruno Sammartino, and that's his son, Dan. And I don't know if he's ever done an interview with anyone, but as you know, I chronicled his father's career, not just photographically, but on audio tape from I did a radio show in New York in 1964 where I interviewed him the first time. And then from the 70s on throughout his whole career, I did so many interviews. And you can check on, if you go to onewrestlingvideo.com and you do a search on Bruno Sammartino with Bill Apter, you'll hear a lot of those classic interviews, including the one of the night that he lost to Ivan Koloff. I was there. Yeah. And the only pro wrestling print magazine that I currently write for, Total Wrestling Magazine. Look them up. They're published out of the United Kingdom. This month in their new issue, my column, The Apter Files. The file this month is about Bruno Sammartino. So he was the consummate professional and a dear friend. I want to get right into action, like I said. So before we got top 10 rankings and Wrestler of the Week, I want to get right away to, let me plug in here. I'm going to have to move the Giant out of the way here. Say goodbye, Andre. Goodbye, Andre. That's a great documentary they did, by the way, on Home Box Office, on HBO, on Andre the Giant. If you haven't seen it, call it up on demand, DVR it, all this new stuff. It's so hard. Anyway, The Gorilla Position, Ryan Bowman. It's a great website, thegorillaposition.com. And he and his partner, Michael, come up with just incredible interviews, and visit them. And every week, he picks the Wrestler of the Week for us. So I haven't listened to this yet. Let's open up here and see who this week's Wrestler of the Week is. Let's go to Ryan Bowman.
I'm Ryan Bowman from thegorillaposition.com, telling the stories of pro wrestling storytellers, here to present this edition of the Apter Video Podcast, Wrestler of the Week. Well, a Rhodes by any other name is still the same. Stung by his departure from WWE 2 years ago when he found out he wouldn't be able to use his famous last name, it appears that Cody has been on a bit of a crusade. But if that's the case, it also appears over 10,000 wrestling fans are all in with him. Channeling the spirit of his entrepreneurial father, Cody and his Bullet Club brethren achieved a double feat of booking themselves as the stars of their own major show, All In, set for September 1st in Chicago. And after naysayers bet they couldn't sell 10,000 seats for the event, they did just that in about a half an hour. Then he pulled another stunning move when he signed a battle for the NWA World Heavyweight title on that very night. Cody stands poised to enter the biggest event of his career with the chance to raise the familiar domed globe that his father held 3 times and put the name Rhodes, yes, Rhodes, back on the most storied championship in professional wrestling history. Answering a lot of people who criticized his departure from WWE, Cody will have validated the move when, win, lose, or draw, he'll leave All In a much bigger star than Stardust ever could have been. A wrestler can always be recognized for his smooth moves inside the ring, but this week, we celebrate the savvy of a performer outside of it. For all his shrewd business maneuvering, Cody Rhodes is our choice for this edition's Wrestler of the Week.
And what an excellent choice. And we don't want to shortchange the talents of the Young Bucks, who are all in with him, of course. Rey Mysterio Jr., this is all taking place on Labor Day weekend in September, of course, at the Sears Center. And just go to All In, just Google it. You'll find out all the information. But congratulations. And Billy Corgan, this is very smart since Billy Corgan now owns the National Wrestling Alliance. He's got Cody Rhodes as the main guy there. And if he's looking to make, which he is, if he's looking to make the NWA title come back to extreme prominence, what a guy to run that with, the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And, you know, Dusty was one of the great NWA champions. And man, this just is totally blows my mind. I also want to mention that a lot of you have asked me since I teased it recently about coming to England. Kayfabe Events, follow them on Twitter. Kayfabe Events and I are just about done signing the deal for me to come and do my one-man show and a book signing in England, possibly from Friday through a Sunday. And a lot of you people from Ireland have been saying, hey, Bill, when are you coming to Ireland already? I hope that accent's pretty good. We're looking into that. So possibility with Kayfabe Events. All right. So what I want to do right now is we're going to call Dan Sammartino. I hadn't talked to Dan since he was a kid. And I got to talk to him yesterday, and it was not about having him on the Apter chat here. It was just talking about his dad. And I said, you know what? I do a live video magazine podcast every Thursday. Would you? And before I could even finish the sentence, he said, I would love to be on. I want to make some ground rules, though. A lot of you people have asked me to ask him about Dan is a twin with Daryl, the two of the sons. The third son, of course, is David. And it's well known in the wrestling business that David was estranged from the family. And I haven't asked anyone in the family about David. This interview with Dan is strictly about his father and what his father meant to him, to us collectively, and the entire wrestling business. So let's give him a call. So I don't want to upset anybody. If I feel that I can ask him that, I will. But please understand. Hold on a minute. Okay, so let's hit the call button here. And let's get Dan Sammartino on the phone. And today is an amazing day to have him on here. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So, get the phone ringing here. Dan, is that you?
Yes, sir.
It's Bill Apter. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to get you on our hooked up on our speaker here. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Give me one. Talk again so we can see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
One more time. Hold on. Hang on. I know we had some phone issues yesterday, but okay. Hold on a minute, Dan. Let me put you on the speaker here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you fine.
All right. For some reason, this speaker, are you on a landline or a...
I'm on a landline.
All right, try one more time.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you perfectly. One more.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you perfectly. Welcome. I was just telling our viewers out there what a thrill it is for me to have you on here, and especially today. Because,
Yes.
yeah.
8th, 1963.
Yes. Tell everybody what we're talking about in case they come from another planet.
Well, that's when my dad took the belt off Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, 55.
Rogers, or not actually.
55 seconds.
48 seconds, actually.
Yeah, actually, it was 48 seconds. That's what I have in my notes here. And someone on the internet put it as 55
No, it was
seconds.
48.
Yeah. And I remember I wasn't there. I was now not allowed to go to Madison Square Garden at that point because there was a ruling by the New York State Athletic Commission for years and years that prohibited anyone under the age of 13 years old to go to wrestling in New York State. Did you know that?
Well, I thought it was back when you went to Madison Square Garden, you had to be age 18. Am I wrong in that?
No, there were certain years you had to, but if you were under 13, you couldn't get in at all, even with a parent.
And back then, people dressed up when they went to Madison Square Garden.
They did.
Yeah.
It was like a main boxing fight crowd. Everybody had shirts and ties on.
Yeah, that's true.
Except this one lady who your dad knew, and I see her face, and she was like a hat pin Annie. When wrestlers would come down the aisle, she would take a hat pin and stick them in the backside with it. Mrs. Krieger, that was her name. Mrs. Krieger. I remember that now. Anyway, so that moment in time, I remember that Buddy Rogers had won the WWF championship. This is what we had said in the magazines, in a tournament. And he came to Madison Square Garden, and Bruno, of course, was the challenger. And what has your dad through all the years told you about that night? Because that night changed his entire life.
Well, that night was very plain and simple. We've talked many times about it. You know, he said when he was in Canada, he said the only way, I believe he told that to Toots Mondt and Vince McMahon. I might be wrong on Toots Mondt, but he said the only way I'll come back is if you give me Buddy Rogers.
Yeah.
And they said, well, he's never going to go for that. He said, well, that's up to you guys. So they had told Buddy Rogers that Buddy Rogers would beat him with the figure four because they were going to pay my dad pretty well. Well, when they went in the ring that night, my dad looked at Buddy because he wanted to be fair. Buddy gave a heads up. He said, Buddy, do your best tonight because that's what I'm going to do. And my dad didn't turn around and walk back to his corner. He backed up to his corner because he never trusted Rogers anyway. They never liked each other.
I know that. Yeah.
And when the bell rang, well, I should say before that, when he told Rogers that, Rogers got a really puzzled look on his face, like, what do you mean? But he did warn him. When the bell rang, he charged him. He tackled him, and then he threw him up in that bear hug. And he told him, he said, if you don't give up, I'm going to break your back.
Yeah.
Which he did suffer some back damage after that because Buddy didn't give up right away. So he kept it going until the referee stopped it.
I remember when he was champion and he come around to the smaller clubs, which my dad had a friend at the State Athletic Commission and snuck us in, the deafening chants of Bruno, Bruno, Bruno were just amazing because the fans were so far, they were so with your father. They so wanted him to be champion, and everybody believed in him. What was the quality, even back then, even though you weren't alive, you talked to your dad about this stuff, what was the quality that made everybody from the beginning find in your dad to make them follow him like that?
Well, I can honestly tell you this. Growing up, I was at the arena every month, okay? They were there every month back then, believe it or not.
Pittsburgh, you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were at the Civic Arena every month. Back as they were Boston, Philadelphia, New York, wherever. They actually hit the clubs every month. Now it's a whole different ballgame. But I can honestly tell you that even when I was a kid, I didn't look at him like my father when he would go into the ring. But I can honestly tell you, and I can't explain it to people, and I've told my dad this several times, my father had an aura about him. When he came out to that ring, you knew that he was the real deal. And he gave you that feeling that the man is here. And I don't mean to sound weird in saying that, but that's how you felt.
Yeah.
He had an aura about him of truth and honesty, and he was a true, legit guy, which he was really. But that is a feeling that people got about him, and that's why he did as well as he did. Because really, what he was in the ring is what he was outside of the ring.
Yeah. He loved his fans so much. I saw times when I was standing outside with a pad and an autograph pen, and he never turned anyone down. Even if there was a car waiting for him to take him to another town, he'd always say, "Let me take care of my fans first."
Yeah. Look, he always said, like he said when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame in the WWE in, I believe, 2013, he said if it wasn't for the fans, there would be no Bruno Sammartino.
When did you realize that your father was this superstar, unlike everybody else's dad in school?
When I was very young.
Yeah.
I knew it right away. But I got to tell you a funny story. When my dad dropped the belt to Billy Graham, my dad would always come home, and on our dining room table, he would put his bag up there, he'd open his bag, and you'd see the belt. And I remember when he came home and the belt wasn't there. And I said, "Daddy, where's the belt?" He said, "I lost it to Billy Graham." Wow. I was devastated.
Sure.
I was truly devastated. I'm like, my God, he lost. I was devastated. Now, when he dropped it to Koloff, I was too young then. I didn't.
Well, wait. I just want to go back to that. Did he add in the asterisk that Graham had his feet on the ropes?
He didn't say anything.
Okay. All right.
He didn't say anything.
Because he never had an alibi for anything. I knew that. I knew that about him.
No.
So talk about the night against Koloff you were going to say.
Well, my dad had a lot of respect for Ivan Koloff. And my dad made an example that no matter how big you are, he beat my dad 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring because he had that much respect for Koloff.
Yeah.
You see, what a lot of people don't realize is that if you go back and watch his matches, he gave a hell of a lot to guys. A lot more than a lot of other people would have who were on top back then. Because he didn't want to hurt their careers. He always thought of the other guy. And that's pretty humbling for a guy who was in his position. Because he didn't have to do that.
No, absolutely not. But there was something we talked about yesterday, and if I can ask you to talk about this, was not only did he help guys in the ring, but he also helped a lot of guys financially, didn't he?
He always look, back then he got a percentage of the gate. Now, back then there were no contracts. So what the house brought in, that's how you got paid. But because he was the top guy, he always said, give me a lesser percentage and take care of all the other guys because they have families too.
Amazing.
And believe me, with what an ego-driven business that was, not a lot of guys would have done that. Not too many.
No, I actually, he's the first person I've ever heard do that. And I knew this, not about that, but I knew from being backstage back in the Vince McMahon Sr. days that your father was, when he was against an opponent, he always would tell me, no matter what he thought of that opponent, that opponent gave his all to go against him, and he appreciated everyone that wrestled against him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really heard him knock anybody. Did you ever see him come home in a cranky mood after a match?
Truthfully, no. No, never. Look, wrestling was a business to him, and when he came home, he left it at the door.
And
he's always on the phone, I remember. We had two separate phones, and that's because he was always getting phone calls. I can remember when, do you remember Joey Gucci?
Oh, of course. Sure.
All right.
Haven't heard that name in years.
Yeah, when Joey Gucci would come to the house to work out a contract with my dad, how the Japanese were then, what they would do is they'd always bring a gift for everyone in the house.
By the way, hold on one sec. I just so our viewers can understand this. The gentleman's name was Joe Higuchi, and he worked for Baba. And he was Baba's top referee. He took care of the guys when they got to Japan, made sure everything was laid out, and he did the contracts. So
yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, because he spoke English and everything too, know. But Joey Gucci would come to the house, and he had a gift for everyone in the house. I'll never forget that. He always had a gift for everyone. He was a very respectful man. My dad really loved Japan. He had a lot of respect for Giant Bubba.
Yes.
And Bubba had a lot of respect for him. And Bubba paid my dad very well back then. And in fact, what my dad did one time is my father saw Bubba get out of a car in Japan, and he saw how small the car was. Well, at the time, my dad had a Cadillac. And I'm going back to like 1972, 71. And my dad sent over his Cadillac to Bubba in appreciation for how he always took care of him. In fact, when Bubba died, when my dad went over there for the memorial thing they had in the ring, his wife said that car was still in their garage.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And we lost her recently, just a few weeks ago. She passed away. But Giant Baba, I had talked to him many times when I was in Japan, and also when he came to the United States and worked for Vince Sr., and he was just thrilled to be in the same building as your father.
Yeah. No, those two had a lot of respect for each other.
They both smoked cigars.
Yeah. Well, my dad would smoke cigars. He started doing that to stay awake while driving because they drove everywhere then.
Yeah.
And Arnold Skolin told him, he said, hey, if you smoke a cigar, it'll keep you awake.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So they would smoke cigars while they were driving so they'd stay awake. They drove so many miles back then. It was ridiculous.
Go ahead. Your dad's, especially people that he talked about when he was home, who would you say, like your dad's top 5 friends, and I know the answer to this, that he kept in touch with all the time back then? Who were his close friends?
Oh, that's hard to say because it depends what time it was.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying that is, look, my dad always kept in touch with Dominic DeNucci. They always talked. They were always over the house. My father and mother would have big 4th of July parties every year. And Dominic and his wife Janine were always there. Other than Dominic, my dad didn't talk to a lot of guys, actually. My dad would talk to Lou Albano a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But then that became estranged. As well, a lot of people don't know, but my dad was very much against what was going on in the WWF back then.
Right.
And some of the guys chose the WWF over, I won't say over my father, but over the scruples that my father had about the business. And one, I'm going to say Lou Albano, and I'll say Gorilla Monsoon too.
Yeah.
Now, before Lou Albano died, he wanted to meet with my dad, and my dad did go meet with him.
Yeah.
It would have never been the same, though.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Right.
Larry Zbyszko would keep in touch with my dad over the years. In fact, when Larry came to the funeral home, he was pretty broken up about everything. And Larry said one thing to me that resonated with me, that I understood where he was coming from. He said, Bruno Sammartino was one guy you would thought would never die.
Say that again. Your phone drifted, or our phone drifted here.
That's your fault.
You still there, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you mind saying that again, please, what Larry Zbyszko said?
Larry Zbyszko said, you hear me?
You're kind of low again for some reason.
Yeah, I'm hearing a ton of...
Did something on your end change there?
You hear me now?
Yeah. Yes.
Larry Zbyszko said to me at the funeral home, he said, your dad is the guy who would never talk about.
Oh, we keep losing you here, and nothing's going on our connection here. Can we hang up and let me call you right back?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason we're...
No, that's okay.
Oh, no, you okay now? Because we can hear you. All right. Hold on, let's redial. Let's redial. This is live, ladies and gentlemen, and kids of all ages. This is so fascinating to me because Bruno was one of my favorite people in the whole world, in or out of the wrestling business. Yeah, I think we got him again now.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it's much better. Much better. So you were saying what Larry Zbyszko said at the funeral.
When Larry came to the funeral home, he was pretty broken up about it. He looked at me and he said, Bruno Sammartino is one guy you would never thought would die, like he was immortal. And I understood what he meant by that. I totally got what he said. And, I totally got what he meant.
Oh, yeah,
by
yeah.
that.
And I talked to Larry the day before he left for the funeral, and he told me that too. And to this day, and I can say this to you and everybody out there watching, to this day I still can't believe he's gone, because Bruno Sammartino was invulnerable. He was Superman. Nothing could happen to him.
Yeah.
What one of the fans, and I don't have his name handy right now, asked me, when Bruno retired, what were his passions? What did he do during his retirement that made him happy?
Well, it's pretty simple. My dad loved staying at home.
Yeah.
He loved home more than anything. If it was up to him, he would have never left the house.
Really?
To be honest. But he loved training, and he loved running, and he loved just doing his thing. That's what he loved to do. Now, what was, when my dad retired and he had traveled all over the world, where I give my father a lot of credit is now, my mother was home raising us, and my mother also had, her parents were ill way back when, and they lived with us at the house. And my dad hired nurses and things to actually give my mother a break. But her parents both died in our home. But when my dad retired, he said, this is your mother's turn now. And my mother wanted to travel. And my dad did it all over again. He traveled for years with my mother. But my dad loved being at home. He loved it.
What did he do when he was home? Was he one of these guys who he wasn't one of those guys who sat on the recliner and watched TV day and night, right?
No, but I mean, he would work out because we always had a weight room in the basement. So he'd work out, he'd go running, he'd watch. My father loved cowboy movies more than you could ever imagine.
Did he really? He was like a John Wayne, like a big John Wayne fan?
Oh my God, my dad loved cowboy movies. In fact, it's kind of funny because when my mother had a knee replacement, and I'm going to say about 2006, and I actually was working construction then, and I moved back home to help out. And when I moved back home, I said, I can't believe you guys don't have cable. My parents didn't have cable TV. I remember growing up, I'm like, Daddy, could we have cable TV? No, we don't need it. As long as we got 2, 4, and 11, we're fine. Well, then I talked them into cable TV when I moved back in with them. And boy, he discovered the Western Channel and never looked back.
Wow. I didn't know that about, as well as I knew him. I never knew that.
Oh my God, he loved the Westerns because that took him back to his youth. Because when he came to this country, you know, there were all the spaghetti Westerns on TV.
Yes.
So I think that reminded him of when he was young. He loved Westerns, loved them.
Wow.
Watched them every single day.
I didn't know that.
He was.
In the later years, now when did you start learning about the business of what your dad was doing?
I knew about the business when I really knew.
Yeah.
Probably like 1981.
So
now, I wanted to go into the business. Look, when my older brother went into the business, my dad sent him to the worst place he could find. He sent him down to Amarillo, Texas, hoping he wouldn't want to be into it.
Don't let the funks hear that.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I understand, but my dad wanted to discourage him from getting into the business. Well, it didn't. Now, I started weight training also, and my dad, I must say, was not the most encouraging guy when I started working out with weights. He didn't want me to follow in that same path my older brother did.
So,
you hear me?
Yeah.
Now, I was the one back who I took after my dad the most when it came to bone frame and everything else. So I made a lot of gains, more so than David did or my brother Daryl did. Dominic Danucci at a wrestling school then.
Well, hold on. We're getting that static again.
Yes, I'm getting it again too.
Okay, let me hang up and we'll dial you right back again. Let's do it again. Always during the best parts here. He was talking about him going to Dominic Danucci's school and how his father, Bruno Sammartino, did not want him to become a wrestler as his brother David did. Oh, no, we're still problematic here. Hold on. Try it now.
No, you know what? You want to try calling my
No, I got you now. We got it.
Okay.
You're good now.
All right.
So you were talking about you going to Dominic Danucci's school.
Yeah, I was going to Dominic Danucci's school, and I said, Dominic, do not tell my dad I'm here. He said, okay. Now, I had been working with a guy beforehand I went to high school with, and we would stay at the school every day after, and we would work out together as far as pro wrestling. And then I started going to Dominic's, and but Dominic said to me one time, he goes, you know, it's just like seeing your dad all over again with you.
Really?
But I got hurt one time, and Dominic, I guess, panicked, and he called my father. When I got home, my dad says, where were you? I said, I was just, I got hurt working out. And he says, Dominic called me. And my dad hit the ceiling.
Wow.
He's like, you are not going into this business. I will not help you go into this business, and I forbid you to go in this business. Now, I was very close with my parents always. And when I saw the disdain he had, I said, okay, well, I'm not going into the business. And looking back now, I'm so glad I didn't, because, look, a lot of drugs came in the 80s, okay? And I would have never fit in that era. And like my dad told me, he said, look, if it was like it was with all the territory, I would have got you into this business.
Yeah.
But it just, the timing was wrong. Timing was off. And I'm very glad I didn't go into it at that time. I never resented him for it. I never questioned him, never anything. I was always one of those kids that I never questioned anything my father did. Never got mad at him for anything. I'm like, look, he knows a lot more than I do. You know, so there was none of that with me.
In the what about your brother Daryl? Did he want to get into it?
No, he had no interest in the wrestling business.
Okay, so where did you? A lot of fans I know, but a lot of fans don't know. So what did you wind up doing career-wise?
Oh God, I did a lot of things. I went to college, couldn't get a job, and I wound up. My mother said to me, "Why don't you go to hair school?" I'm like, "Hair school?
Hair school?
Doing hair?" She goes, "Look, we're always all of us were picky about our hair." So I did that, and I wound up. I stayed in it, and I own a barber shop here in Pittsburgh that does very well, and I'm very content with it.
What's the name of it?
The Barber's Edge.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when you're in Pittsburgh, so now let's go to the later years when your dad started to get sick, and you saw the decline. Again, yesterday when we were talking, you said, you know, how it hit you that this great man that went through everything from, you know, fleeing the Nazis to becoming a bodybuilding champion to becoming a wrestling champion. And here were the twilight years happening right in front of you.
You hear me?
Yeah, can hear you, Dan.
I'll talk about the later years.
Yeah.
Well, one thing with Italian father, it took me a long time ago.
Dan, we've lost you again.
You know what? Why don't you call my cell phone?
Okay, hang on a minute. I have, yeah, I've got that. So give me a minute, and I'll call you right back. All right, I have to find his cell phone number now. I hope you people are enjoying this. And again, this is live, so these technical things happen. And
please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your party is reached.
How's that?
Well, right now we're okay.
Okay.
So what you were saying about, we were talking about your dad's later years.
Well, quick story short, in a way. My father contracted rheumatic fever during the war.
Yeah.
Okay. And in fact, they thought it was pneumonia back then. You got to remember that where he grew up, there were no doctors or no anything. Okay. So they're in war-torn Italy, hid in the mountains for 14 months, and he was very ill. And in fact, the American Red Cross came through and told my grandmother that he was not going to make it the next day.
Wow.
And like he told the story, she put leeches all over his body, this or that, and he somehow pulled through. But what happens with rheumatic fever is you will pay a price later on in life, because when you have rheumatic fever as a child, it will ruin your heart when you get older. So go back to like late 08. I started noticing, because me and him would walk a lot together. You hear me okay?
Yeah, no, we're hearing you fine.
I started to notice that he was getting out of breath going upstairs in the house and things like that. And I'm like, something's not right here. Well, he needed a double valve double valve replacement. Well, but yes, he had the double valve replacement, but the damage was already done from the rheumatic fever.
From when he was a kid, sure.
Yeah. And that was, I'm very close with my mom and dad.
I know
and
you
I always went over there every day. I checked on him. I did whatever he needed done. I was the type that he didn't have to ask me to do anything. I just did it. But where he had other things though, because the damage was done from wrestling that caught up with him. He had so much nerve damage. You know, he had 4 or 5 back surgeries, spinal stenosis with all the damage that happened. But his legs would go numb and just give out on him. So he would fall. Now, being when you have, he had a mechanical valve and a pig valve. And you need to be on blood thinners, which he was. But when you fall, being on a blood thinner, a fall can kill you.
Sure.
He would fall once in a while. My mother would call me and I'd go pick him up. And that took, I can honestly tell you, whenever my dad fell, it took a piece of my soul from me. It killed me. But I did anything that man needed done. I love my dad more than a lot of people realize. I was extremely close to my father.
I know you were, and he spoke of you.
Me and my father would talk in the backyard on Sunday morning. My dad would be outside, and we talked for hours about wrestling business, the old school days, and it's just great times talking to him.
And you mentioned to me yesterday you still have all the old wrestling magazines with all his career. Yeah. He was great. He was great whenever I needed to do an interview or pictures on him. One of the stories before I let you go, and by the way, you need to write a book. You really do.
Well, I'm going to write. I am writing a book right now, actually, about my life with my father.
Oh, that's great. And you'll keep us posted on this, obviously?
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. That is great. But there was one story you mentioned to me yesterday that was sad, yet it gave me such a rise about your dad and what the business meant to him. Tell the people about the cauliflower ears.
You mean about the plastic surgeon?
The doctor, yeah.
A plastic surgeon came into my dad's room and he said, "You know, I could fix those ears for you." And my dad said, "What did he say?" Because my dad was kind of hard of hearing. He said, "I can fix those ears." And I looked at him. I said, "Oh, no, you're not fixing those ears."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why?" I said, "He earned those ears. Those old school guys, they earned those ears. My dad doesn't want those fixed. Those are a badge of honor. Those ears were a badge of honor." He had a guy 25 years ago said, "I'll do them for nothing." That wasn't a point. My dad did not want those ears touched because those ears are a badge of honor for those old school guys. And I get it. I understand.
Yeah, they're the battle scars.
Yeah.
What
absolutely.
How can you sum up for the people who loved your father so much, and I'm not just talking about your family, but for the people out there who loved your father so much, what can you say from the family to them?
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something that happened at the funeral home. The funeral home was public, and there was a lady who came in, and she was homeless, okay? And there were many homeless people that came in. And she looked at my mother and she said, "You know I don't deserve to be here, but I just wanted to see him one last time." And my mother looked at her and said, "You do deserve to be here, and my husband would so appreciate the fact that you were here." Because my dad treated everybody the same. And my father never changed with fame or anything. He was an old school immigrant who came here and had a very brutal life growing up. And he was very appreciative to be able to provide for his family. And that's one thing that I always respected about him the most is he never changed.
Yeah.
He was who he was. He was the most honorable, honest man I've ever known in my life, ever.
Great role model for you and for your family.
Phenomenal role model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And one other thing, and this, we're not going to go into detail about this, but that love that you have for your father, you have the WWF championship belt that he lost to Ivan Koloff, and then it went to Pedro Morales. You have that original belt in your possession, don't you?
Yeah, I've had that belt for 25 years.
Have you really? Well, that's a blessing, because that was that moment. I remember when I interviewed him for his life story, and he said when he got that WWF belt, he was walking back to the Holland Hotel in New York City, and as he was walking, he just felt his entire life just opened up for him. And yeah. I want to thank you, Dan, so very much, because I know you haven't done any interviews, and as you know, I did hundreds and hundreds of interviews with your dad, and it's just a pleasure still being in the whole Sammartino family here. It really is.
No, I thank you for having me. It was a pleasure anytime.
And I'll give you a call in a few days, and we'll chat, and I want to make sure that we stay in touch, because as I mentioned, your dad was one of my favorite people in or out of this business. He was always willing to give, and he was always he mentored me in a lot of ways. As I mentioned to you yesterday, to become successful in this business, someone really has to, especially back then, someone really has to endorse you, and he was the guy for me.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Please send our collective love from me and the people who are watching us right now. And thank you again so very much.
No, I thank you very much.
Send our love to your family. Thanks. Bye-bye. Wow. See, this is, again, live. And I just, Bruno was, when you talk about professional wrestling, just Bruno Sammartino. And if you lived in the Northeast here, I saw him I photographed him so many times, his matches at the Garden, but it was always the backstage. There's one thing that I didn't talk about. When I used to go backstage in the early 70s, my dad would go with me, and no matter what Bruno was doing, he could have been talking to Vince Sr. or Willie Gilsenberg or some other people from the New York State Athletic Commission. But whenever he saw me and my dad, he always came over and would say hello to my dad first. Always did it. Okay. Thank you all for the nice comments. And please, once this is archived, share it, send it out. So right now we're going to, before we go to our interview with Dr. D, David Schultz, it is time once again to go to our rankings. So hang on here. I hope you people are having trouble typing Travis Volt's name in here, because of I'm just so moved by talking to a member of the Sammartino family. Travis Voltz, TV, one of our favorite correspondents. And by the way, I noticed in the chat box, Big Ray Hernandez was out there putting in some questions and comments. And thank you, Big Ray, for being my right-hand man at One Wrestling and One Wrestling Video. And now it's TV time right now. TV time, meaning Travis Voltz with his weekly Monday Night Raw ratings. Where'd it go? Where'd it go here? You people can't see you can't see where WWE Women's Top 10. That's not it. Let's see. Hang on a minute. Let me go back here. This was all working fine before we went live, of course. Raw 514, show in folder. And it's not showing in the folder. We're having a tech problem here, Travis. So we may not be able to. Let me give it one more try here. All you techies out there are going like, oh, I can't believe Bill can't do this. It's just not showing. Here we go.
Howdy, 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 fans, and thanks for turning the audio page once again to the ranking sections. This is Old T Volts coming to you for the legendary Bill Apter.
Thank you.
As I give you the raw top 10 as compiled by my staff here in the trenches of OneWrestling.com. Let's get right into it. Coming in finally in the top 10 at number 10, Bobby Lashley, who seems to be gaining some traction on the red brand. Number 9 is the zany Sami Zayn. Number 8, and picking up a big win on Monday Night Raw, is none other than Kevin Owens. Number 7, continually to drop down in the rankings, Elias. Number 6, and moving on up, is Jinder Mahal. In the 5 hole is none other than Finn Balor. And all the way up to the number 4 is none other than glorious Bobby Roode, who really seems to be on a roll. Glorious. Speaking of on something, the big dog in the yard, Roman Reigns, seems to be on a downward spiral as he comes in still strong at the number 3 spot. We'll see what the future holds for one Roman Reigns.
Cheer him.
Number 2 is the monster among men. Who will be next to get these hands? That's right. Number 2 belongs to Braun Strowman. And that leaves us with our number 1 and the MVP, Mr. Monday Night Rollins himself, the fightingest champion currently going. That's right, Seth Rollins. And of course, the top of the heap still is the Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar. Fans, thanks for tuning in to this version of the ranking section for the legendary Bill Apter. Now, let's get back to him.
Well, thank you so very much, T-Volts, Travis Volts, for that. Okay, so last week we talked to Dr. D, David Schultz, about a little about everything, including John Stossel getting the slap from him, created amazing controversy. This is his book, Don't Call Me Fake. Look it up on Amazon. We are going to call him and talk a little bit more about his book. And don't go away. We got some more surprises for you. We have the Gonzo Sharks rankings, not rankies, rankings coming up. I'm getting a lot of texts about that interview with Daniel Sammartino. Thank you all. I'm just flattered that you all enjoyed that so much. Hopefully he's there. He might be out bounty hunting. You never know. You never know. 2 rings, Dr. D. Come on, Dr. D. Don't make me go out and get you. Dr. D is not answering the phone.
Hello.
Dr. D is. I was getting nervous. I was going to send out hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Are you there? Are you there, Dr. D? It's Bill Apter.
Oh, is this Bill?
It is.
Bill?
You sound.
You know why they have props, don't you?
Wait. You sound like you're in a tin can here. It's hard to hear you.
Hard to hear me?
Yeah, you're all muffled, and I don't know why. Are you on a different phone than you were last time we had you on?
No, I'm on the same phone.
Hold on a minute. Hang on. I want to make sure it's not our connection here, which it shouldn't be. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, no, hold on. Our connection's not good. Let me try and call you right back. I don't know why this is happening. Everything's hooked up. We're good. And this has worked every week perfectly since we started this. So now we go. Might be the connections down here in Apter's Alley.
Hello,
yes. That loud and clear. That's perfect. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
No, you were good. You were good a second ago, and now you're a little muffled again. So this is the technical world of being live.
Yeah. Is it muffled now?
Yeah, it still is a little bit. Keep talking. So let's see if we can get.
Well, it's raining and overcast here, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, and you're out in the mountains there. So I think if this is okay with you, can we do a rain check for next Thursday?
Do what now?
Take a rain check for next Thursday?
Yeah, that might be better because this storm in here, it's
I've got you on live, and we can barely it sounds like you've got something in front of your mouth and you're muffled.
Yeah, and I do have something in front of my mouth. It's all falling.
Well, see, I got that, but I want to let everybody know while you're on the phone that this is your book. Don't Call Me Fake: The Real Story of Dr. D, David Schultz. And we will reconnect with Dr. D. And I will see Dr. D, David Schultz, June 9th at Legends of the Ring in Monroe, New Jersey. And we will do a live video interview there, plugging his book.
That would be great.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. D. And I appreciate it. We'll try again next Thursday.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Right.
You have a good week.
Thank you. You too. That's amazing. The thing with Dan Sammartino, we were able to clear up, and it is his. Big Ray is. Hey, Big Ray. Wait a minute. Hang on a minute here. Now we're gonna get serious here for a minute before we go to the rankings here. The Gonzo Sharks rankings. We're going to talk to Big Ray.
Hello.
Oh, is this one of the Temptations?
Oh, Bill, I get a lot of feedback on your end.
No, you sound like one of the Temptations, that deep voice of yours.
Well, I blame my father for that one. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, and I want to thank you for being part of the show tonight. And what did you learn from Dan Sammartino?
Oh man, it was so good to listen to him talk about his father because, the relationship I have with my dad growing up, and I could hear the sincerity in his voice when he spoke about how close he was with his father. And I was a big fan of Bruno Sammartino growing up, and everything I learned about him, everything I learned about Bruno, I learned from my dad until December 7th, 1985. When I went to MSG, I saw Roddy Piper actually attack Bruno Sammartino, which brought him out of retirement for the first time in like, I think, almost like a decade or something like that. So it was really cool, man, to listen to I was going to say David. I'm so used to talking about his son, David.
Yeah.
But it was so cool listening to him speak about his dad and just and you know what's funny? You know what's funny, Bill? My father was a huge cowboy movie fan as well. He loved the Western.
Big Ray's father was a professional wrestler as well. So yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, man. A lot of actually my entertainment partner, Paul Big Bear. He's got that Western channel on cable all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was. It must have been something in the air back in the day. But all the men, it was I guess you would call it being a real man's man, watching John Wayne movies and movies like Back to Bataan and like my father used to love military flicks as well.
Yeah.
But it was really cool hearing, humanizing almost a mythical figure. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense to you.
It definitely does. Now, listen, the reason I called you is I want to put you on the spot. A lot of people are wondering what happened to a segment that you were doing on this show, not a separate segment, even though you did that, called Heel Appeal, where you were talking about the bad guys. I'm getting word that people would like that back.
Well, I could bring it back starting next week if you want me to do it.
How about fans? Let's go in unison. Bring it back. Bring it back. Okay, that's
no, seriously.
Yeah,
you know what, Bill? All right, so here's the deal. All right, I will bring back the Heel Appeal.
Okay.
If you starting next week, I will send you a segment once a week, every week.
Okay.
And I'll talk about my favorite thing in professional wrestling, and that is the bad guy. Because it's always better to be bad.
Yeah. Is it really?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that how you were brought up?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. If you're not cheating, you ain't trying.
All right. Well, we got it. Big Ray, just wanted to tell you I love you in a guy way.
Too, man.
In a guy way, as we always joke and say that. It's not.
You got it, Uncle Bill. I love you, man.
Likewise. And we will look for Heel Appeal. Thank you, Big Ray.
Oh, and also one more thing. I'm going to stop this out really quickly. I wasn't on this week. I had a little battle of diverticulitis. I wasn't able to do Smack Talk with Big Vickery. We'll be back next week.
Oh, we love that segment.
And let me tell you something, Bill. I got so much cool content coming this month, man. So look out for it, Bill. Look out for it, people there at One Wrestling Video Land. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, he stole that word. All right. Thank you, Big Ray.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
See you at the matches. Yeah. So let me see what else we've got here. I'm sorry about Dr. D. Robbie E is a no-show again. That's 3 weeks in a row. So next week he will probably no-show once again. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Now I know what I want to do. I'm starting another new segment. And you can elect someone to be this by sending me an email at Apter. Hold on. Apter@onewrestling.com. And this segment is going to be called the Fan of the Week. And it's an award for the Fan of the Week. And sometimes we will award a prize to the Fan of the Week. So my buddy Terry Darby, who is a great guy, has been in the wrestling business. He's a historian. And he came up with our first Fan of the Week. And I want to read you his email, and then we're going to go to the Gonzo Shark's rankings. Dear Bill, as you requested, I'm sending you info this week concerning my young friend Teddy. Here's a quick summary for you to tell everybody. I heard about Teddy, Teddie Quinn. Hi, Teddy, age 8, through family several months ago, and that he was a huge WWE fan. Because of health issues he has had, I was asked to reach out to him because it was well known that I've been a fan as well since I was even younger than him. We immediately bonded. This is with an 8-year-old kid. We immediately bonded, and he FaceTimes me regularly to talk about wrestling, make predictions. This is an 8-year-old kid, discuss talent, and ask a lot of questions to me. Laugh out loud. He's very knowledgeable about the pro wrestling product, talent, and different brands at 8 years old, and especially since he had never watched Raw or Smackdown before. He watched and learned everything from YouTube. Wow, that's amazing. I was in England recently because my mother-in-law passed away. Sorry about that, Terry. And I made a surprise visit to see young Teddy. It was a wonderful surprise, and the emotions were awesome. While there, I tapped his favorite pastime, which is making wrestling entrances for me, and he sends them to me through Facebook. While visiting his house, I hooked him up with the WWE Network, and he's now in tune on a regular basis. And I can't go into this whole thing, but his ultimate wish is he'd love to visit America and have some great wrestling experiences. Well, I'm negotiating with Kayfabe events to come to England in November, and I hope I get to meet Teddy and pick his brain and do an interview with him. And I know that he recently, and this was set up by Terry Darby, he recently got to go to his first WWE show at the O2 Arena. So this young man, Teddy Quinn, you are this week's very first fan of the week. Congratulations. All right, so we're going to go right now to the weekly ratings that are sent in by the Gonzo Shark, who will be swimming over here very shortly. Let's hook this up. Again, this is all live. So let's go right now to the women's division top 10 with the Gonzo Shark. All right, Gonzo, take it away.
Good evening, humanoids. This is Gonzo Shark for Bill Apter's Video Magazine podcast. And it's that time of the week again to bring you the WWE Women's Top 10 Rankings. So without further ado, let's kick it off at number 10.
Go for it.
Number 10 goes to Mandy Rose. At number 9, a woman who hasn't seen the rankings in quite a few weeks, but had an impressive showing this week on Raw, even though she was on the losing end of her match, is Mickie James. At number 8 is a woman who was on the winning end of her match on Raw this week, Bayley. At number 7, a woman who hasn't been doing that great the past few weeks, but her work in the ring has improved. She has a great character, and I think that she will impress us further the more time goes on. I'm talking about Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
At number 6, the boss, Sasha Banks. At number 5, a woman who had a great showing this week on Raw and locked up that infamous sharpshooter to get the tap out. I'm talking about Natalya.
She's
At number 4, a woman who I think has superstar in the making written all over her.
Who is that?
I love everything about this woman. She's great in the ring, has a great character, and she is definitely my pick for this year's Women's Money in the Bank match. I'm talking about Ember Moon.
Yeah.
At number
Superstar
3,
in the making.
another front runner for the Money in the Bank match. Probably my second choice. I'm talking about former Raw Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss. At number 2, SmackDown Women's Champion, the Princess of Staten Island, Carmella. And at number 1, the baddest woman in the WWE Women's Division, the Raw Women's Champion, Nia Jax.
All right. She is the Raw Women's Champion. And right now we're going to go back to the Gonzo Shark. And let's get the women's... Oh, no, let's get the SmackDown top 10. SmackDown Live, the guys. All right, come on back, Gonzo Shark.
What's up again, humanoids?
It's
This is
him.
Gonzo Shark, and I'm back for Bill Apter's Video Magazine podcast to bring you this week's SmackDown Live men's top 10 rankings.
Let's go for it, Gonzo.
Kicking it off at number 10 is a guy that I've never seen before. I've never heard of him. I don't even know if he's on the WWE roster, but he makes it in at number 10 this week after getting obliterated in a squash match. I'm talking about Jake Constantino.
Yeah.
At number 9,
10?
the big dude with the big mouth. He's getting his ass whooped every week by Daniel Bryan. I'm talking about Big Cass. At number 8, the newest up-and-comer from NXT on SmackDown Live. I love this guy. I think he's got a great gimmick. I feel like he's old school. I like how he's got a female manager that feels old school.
Oh,
He's awesome in the ring. I'm talking about Andrade Cien Almas.
he's going to be up there.
At number 7, the Viper, Randy Orton.
Still in?
At number 6, former Intercontinental Champion, The Miz. At number 5,
He doesn't like that word,
everybody's
former.
favorite day, Rusev Day.
Rusev Day.
At number 4, Daniel Bryan. At number 3, number 1 contender for AJ Styles' WWE Championship, the artist Shinsuke Nakamura.
He's got to learn how to speak English.
At number 2, United States Champion Jeff Hardy. And at number 1, WWE Champion, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Gonzo Shark 1, Facebook.com/Gonzo Shark 1, and look for all of my material at OneWrestling.com, Vince Russo's The Brand, and WrestlingWithWrestling.com. Until next time, Gonzo Shark is checking out. Take it away, Bill.
All right. Thank you very much, Gonzo Shark. Gonzo Shark, Travis Volts, thank you for your weekly efforts on the various rankings. Ryan Bowman, the Gorilla Position, thank you so very much for your excellent Wrestler of the Week. Big Ray Hernandez, thank you so much for everything you do for us. And thank you, fans that have gotten a copy of my book, Is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't know it was broken. And some of you have gotten the audio version, still on sale. And if you get a copy of the book and you want it signed and you're not coming to any place where I'm doing a signing, just email me at bapter@onewrestling.com and send me your home mailing address or your office address. And I will send you a personalized sticker that you can put right on the front page of the book, made out right to you. And of course, again, don't call me fake. Dr. D, David Schultz. He lives way up in the mountains, and they had a storm going on there, so we couldn't get him. And thank you again to Dan Sammartino. I so appreciate that you letting me do this interview. That's about it, fans. Let me just see if there's any quick questions. My book now is at walmart.com. It is. You can't get it in the store. You can't get it in the store, but you can go to walmart.com. I made it to Walmart. Yes. Yeah, Big Ray, Dan was excellent. Let me see if there's any quick questions for me. There are nothing that I can see except going back another hour, but I want to let you people go so you can catch I don't want to be blamed for people missing 15 minutes of Impact because you were watching the Apter Chat. Later this summer, I might change the day and time of this Apter Chat. If you have suggestions, let me know what it is, because I want to make sure we get more people in here. Spread the word. Send the link out. This will be archived probably within the next hour, and I'll put the link on both my Facebook page, and follow me on Twitter at Apter1Wrestling. And congratulations. See you at the matches. Thank you, everyone, for watching.